How's everyone feeling today? Still good? Yes, okay, now I would like to ask for a very small request. I would like to fill in the center seats first. So people, good folks from my left side and the good folks from my right side, can we just stand up and fill in the middle rows first, if that's possible? Thank you so much. You guys are fantastic. We will begin very shortly. And with that, ladies and gentlemen who are still at the foyer, please come into the hall. We can't wait to start the day. Exciting things await, and I'm as excited to see you all here still with us today.
A very warm welcome to the 2023 AVPN Global Conference in the vibrant city of Kuala Lumpur. This year, we gather under the inspiring theme of Global Challenges, Asian Solutions, where we will explore the continuum of capital from philanthropy to CSR to impact investing and ESG. Here, at this unique gathering, Asia Pacific, our region, takes center stage, where the incredible potential of all of our countries is showcased and where innovative solutions to global challenges are celebrated.
The theme of my speech today is really about the Hasana story, thinking global and acting local in philanthropy and innovation. It underscores the meaning of our collaboration and enduring partnership with AVPN and other global networks and philanthropies around the world, which is to enhance the social impact landscape in Malaysia.
We do measure both quality and impact. And the purpose of it was to see that how we can have social change and impact in our own lifetime. And this can only happen when it's working in partnership with people gathered around here.
I'm very proud. I just counted it up. I've been to 8 conferences, from Hong Kong to Thailand to Indonesia.
Actually, this is my second time, but first time as a speaker.
Well, I've been coming to the conference since it started 11 years ago. I've always found it really vibrant.
This year's conference has really pushed the boundary.
I think the thing that I really look forward most is that there's so many people from different fields around here, and it's so inspiring. It's my first time here, so it's so exciting to hear all these different talks.
And this year is really different. You know, the vibe, the energy, and I really like the brainstorming session.
They are all incredible. They're the most important week of the year to come together and solve the problems together.
We can create this kind of haven for dialogue. So I think it's really important for a conference to still have this kind of energy.
I could sense the confidence with AVPN in bringing Asian understanding of Asian thinking.
Oh, well, I was very pleasantly surprised when I saw the conference, the large scale of the conference. I think it was a very good job. And the people that I've met here have been really amazing people who are doing a lot of good work across countries. So I think it's been a useful time spent here.
actually my 11th conference. So I've been at each conference since the beginning. Why I'm here is because each conference actually brought like-minded people who shared the same passion, the same dreams actually to create a better society and the environment.
In which that, people are definitely more open towards collaboration. So today alone, I have so many talks about potential collaboration, people learning from one another and really trying to amplify what has already been done instead of replicating. So I think that is definitely one of the great key takeaways that I have from this conference this year.
EVPN for bringing this issue forward on the discussions, and I'm glad that I also meet networks of people working in disability as well. So yeah, kudos to EVPN.
All right, welcome to the third day of the AVPN Global Conference 2023. Delivered in partnership. Welcome and good morning, everyone. Welcome to the day 3 of the Global Conference 2023, delivered in partnership with Yayasan Hasanah. My name is David Lim, part of the capital mobilization team at AVPN that works on grant management and innovative projects.
And hello again, folks. My name is Hani Sisham from Yayasan Hasanah, a grant-making foundation here in Malaysia, focused on moving the needle for societal and environmental issues in the country.
All right. And from the past 2 days of the conference, I'm truly inspired by the conversations and the diversity of topics that we're talking about. And I'm excited about what could be transpired out of these conversations by all of you. As some of you may know, we have an exciting lineup for today, this morning, featuring some truly inspiring Asian leaders. And mind you, delivering Asian partnership and Asian leadership and solutions to global problems is, of course, the key overarching theme of this year's conference. And Hannes,
yes,
what
David
is the most impressive thing that inspired you for the past 2 days?
Ooh, that's a good question. I think what strikes me most is how raw and real the conversations have been. It's not every day that you hear conversations that not only talk about how great things are, but also your vulnerabilities as an individual, as an organization in this scene, and also how we can be better. I think that's just incredible. And of course, the friendships form. I think we're new friends, David. AVPN, Global Conference, and the Hasanah Forum are new friends. But of course, all of you guys have made new friends, I'm very sure. You know what? I have never been to a conference where people that you don't know yell hello to you across the room, like your childhood friends. So please, give it up to the people in this room, please. You guys are super, super incredible. Great energy. Please, let's maintain this energy up until the day ends. And it is indeed an exciting day where today we expect to be joined by leaders of the nation here at the conference. This is actually testament to how important these dialogues are here and the significance placed by the Malaysian government for this agenda. This is Asian leadership at work, delivering Asian solutions to global problems.
And indeed, I was very proud as Malaysian when I learned that AVPN, last year in Bali, is bringing the global conference to Kuala Lumpur, our very hometown. And hence, to all our delegates, we'd like to greet you with Selamat Datang dan Selamat Pagi.
Welcome and very good morning. And of course, good morning, Selamat Pagi to those watching at home at the Hasanah Forum live stream. Thank you so much for joining us once again today.
Well, normally in Malaysia, we may start the morning in a local setting with a nasi lemak and a teh tarik. And in case you haven't got a chance to try these dishes and drink, please do so. And if you don't know what and where you can get it, please approach me or Hannes or any Malaysian delegates here because you must get it and we are going to compare with the Singapore version.
Oh, wow, the audacity. But okay, who here loves roti canai? Yes, yes, flaky on the outside, soft on the inside. You got roti canai?
Yeah.
In Singapore?
Well, I'm not sure. Singapore colleagues, do you have a good roti canai? That's the
And
thing.
now, David, to wake everyone up, let's bring out the roti. I'm totally joking. I'm totally joking. Sorry to get your hopes, up. But we do want to wake you up in some other way. Can we please get everyone to stand up? Please don't groan, huh? Don't. Stand up, stand up, stand up. And we ask you to greet the person on your left or your right and spend a minute to share with them.
To share with them on one thing that you have. Okay, everyone is greeting.
Everyone's already greeting.
You can use your local language to greet. And everyone, there's one mission in your conversation to share with them in the last 2 days. What have you learned in Malaysia here that you want to bring back to your community? Do you want to bring back to your organization? What are the impacts? What are the new inspiration? What are new collaborations that you want to make back in your organization?
I love hearing the buzz of the morning. I didn't expect for people to be this energetic, David, but I guess that's the spirit of the conference here.
And exactly what you say, this is what's happening in AVPN conference for the past 2 days in the hallway, in the plenary room, in the breakout sessions.
Everywhere. They break bread together.
Yep.
They have our nasi lemak together. Wow. And of course, exciting new collaborations are at the horizon, I'm very, very sure.
And we're gonna give everyone a good warm up.
Maybe another 30 seconds.
Yeah.
This is the time to exchange numbers or exchange cards.
Yeah. And maybe just scan a phone nowadays. Some of you may not have name cards on a physical paper.
I guess that's our cue. Some of our folks here are already like awkwardly turning back to our direction.
And all right, thank you everyone.
Okay, a round of applause for your energy, folks.
Thank you so much.
Amazing, amazing.
And we realize the best warm-up is not from the stage, it's from each other's energy to exchange with each other and through the coffee that we serve in the hallway.
Aww. Now, we hope that was a great exchange, ladies and gentlemen, finding out the diversity and a reminder on this magical power of convening in learning and sharing wisdom. Now, David, what's in for us?
All right, so we are sure that most of you would have known or remembered the 4 themes that's going through the sessions in our conference. And the 4 key themes are empowered communities, Asian leadership, transformational collaboration, and the most important one, urgent action.
Now, David, one of the themes you mentioned was empowered communities. It is with that focus, we are bringing this keynote where we believe that placing a local emphasis on solutions and bringing in the voices from the communities do matter in solving local issues while being scalable and relevant to the needs of the Asian demographic.
And let us now welcome our keynote speaker this morning, Dato' Kathleen Chew, the Group Legal Counsel for YTL Group, the Program Director of YTL Foundation, and the founder of Mangosteen. Welcome.
Good morning, everyone, and I hope this energy doesn't let up during my talk. I hope you've enjoyed the conference. It looks like you have, and also had the opportunity to discover something of our beautiful city. Nasi lemak and teh tarik will be high on the list if you haven't done that yet. But yeah, I hope you get the chance to get out for a little while. Do you know, here in the heart of Kuala Lumpur, next to this beautiful Petronas Twin Towers, isn't it hard to imagine that not far from here, not far from these towering skyscrapers, luxury hotels, amazing malls, lies communities of refugees. These individuals have fled conflict and persecution in their home countries, seeking safety and a better life in our country. I once met a young boy who was not yet 10. He told me his story of how he had got on a boat with his parents, and along the way, along that long, arduous journey, both his parents had died. He sat on that boat and watched his parents, one after the other, thrown overboard. I cannot imagine the impact that that would have on the rest of his life. And yet, despite the relative safety of being here, his access to education was limited to a small, makeshift informal school that I happened to be visiting that day. Some children are luckier, and they go to a school like the Kachin Refugee Center. Here, in this school, children gather each day. They get to play a little. And they not just receive an education, but they can find purpose. Let me tell you the story, or let you watch the story of Dicky.
My full name is Larin Dicky. I am originally from a small town of Myanmar. I was around 5 years old. I come to Malaysia through a lot of struggles like forests and the small river with leeches. There was this one teacher who is my English teacher, and even now, because of her, I feel that I am very good. I like writing stories. She would give me books to read, and then she would support my writing by checking my grammar. Now she is no longer with me. She went to US already. There are also some challenges for me. My father was the only one who was working in the house. If my father don't work, we don't have anything to eat nor to pay the bills for the house. I won't be able to go to school anymore. It makes me feel like I am being lagged. I am not catching up with this thing. The world will just go on without me, but then I will just stay there not knowing this. I would like to have fun with my friends because I do know that we can't stay together forever.
How do you see your future?
Blank. I have no thought for it yet. I just thought that maybe I could enjoy what I have as of now.
Blank. It's a powerful word, isn't it? It can represent so many things. A lack of direction, a sense of emptiness, an absence of hope. When I first heard Dicky say those words, it struck me really deeply. I don't know how you felt, but I felt inadequate. I felt like I wasn't doing enough. Even though, there's so many programs that we do and, our partners do. Were we doing enough? And how could I or we ensure that this child had a brighter future? Why didn't Dicky dream of becoming a doctor or a K-pop star like my children and their friends? As I thought about this, it brought me back to my family's history in coming to Malaysia. My grandfather was an immigrant, and he came here from the island of Hainan in between the two world wars. Life was tough, and he was looking for a better life, just like Dicky's family. He worked hard, raised his family, and put his hope in his children. And what he wanted most was for his children to get a good education, so life would be better for the next generation, whatever the costs and sacrifices to himself. I think many of us here resonate with that story, that insatiable desire to make sure that the next generation thrives. But the difference between my father and Dicky was that he could enroll in a local school. He went to Kajang High School. It was quite a well-known school back in the day. where he had great teachers. He could play hockey, football, and even cricket. It was his school and his teachers who changed the trajectory of his life, and consequently, mine. But do you know what else struck me about Dickie's story? It's the fact that even without those spacious classrooms, without those playing fields, her humble school serves as a lifeline to her. It is still doing for her what my father's school did for him. And even with limited resources, it has the capability of turning that blank uncertainty into a world of endless possibilities, where children can overcome challenges and grow. This is the situation in Malaysia. The education of displaced communities here faces significant challenges. We have about 200,000 registered refugees. Of this number, 47,000 are children under the age of 18. They are served by about 128 informal schools. And, this is one of the schools that you've seen, the Kachin Refugee Learning Center. Public education is not available to them. The teachers in these schools serve the children with their hearts and are incredibly dedicated. But the reality is that almost none of them have formal teacher education. So let me introduce you to some of these teachers. This is Zara. Zara is a Pakistani refugee who has made Malaysia her home for almost 16 years. She has dedicated her life to teaching underprivileged children and marginalized children in community schools. She's a special needs teacher and a preschool teacher. And her dream is to receive formal education so that she can be a better teacher to her children. This is Sean. Sean is happily playing amongst Orang Asli children here. He discovered his passion for teaching when he tutored children in a high-need community in 2017 and discovered that not all children, even here, have equal access to education. He applied for the Teach for Malaysia Fellowship and is currently a partner teacher at an indigenous school in the interiors of Perak. Next is Jane. Jane is a passionate mathematics teacher who came to Malaysia from Myanmar as a refugee 10 years ago. Her dream was to become a lawyer, but that shattered when she had to flee her country. Now she just wants to give the best of what she has to her students. And these teachers, like many others in their communities, show incredible resilience, dedication, and determination in the face of daunting circumstances. Their stories highlight the urgent need for comprehensive teacher training and education and robust support programs for them. So a year ago, a team from the University of Birmingham's School of Education came to visit some of these informal schools. It was the head of school and it was the head of diversity and inclusivity. They were really amazed by what they saw in the schools and were really touched by what they had accomplished with just so little. And yet they were disturbed because they knew that these teachers needed to be upskilled. The team went back and determined to find a solution that would work for these teachers, a solution that would work in their context, not a ready-made solution that they had as a program for the rest of the world. The university was just about to launch a hybrid distance learning teacher education program, which they believed could be adapted for the teachers in the informal schools. After a year of listening, assessment, and adapting curriculum to cater for the needs of these teachers, YTL Foundation, in partnership with the University of Birmingham, launched the Teachers for Educational Equity Initiative. Its aim is simple: uplift and empower teachers in underserved schools through world-class teacher education. Teachers under the program will take modules such as teaching and assessment strategies, curriculum and planning, inclusion and adaptive teaching. On completion of all modules, the teachers will attain a globally recognized postgraduate certificate in international education, the PGCEI. And yet, for those who are not able to embark on this full program, we will curate purpose-made programs for their needs. The program focuses on quality and equity, providing teachers with the skills to meet the diverse needs of their students. It's a program that addresses the challenges faced by teachers like Zara, Sean, and Jane, giving them a pathway to enhance their expertise and be recognized as qualified teachers. In our first year, this year, the program has enrolled 84 teachers, 42 from 11 informal schools in the Klang Valley, and 42 Teach for Malaysia Fellows in 15 indigenous and rural schools in Perak and Sarawak. But beyond what this program can do for marginalized and displaced communities in Malaysia, we believe that the research that we will undertake with the University of Birmingham will enable this program to scale and be replicated in other regions to serve marginalized communities. Malaysia has 200,000 refugees on record, and this is a small number, we all know, when compared to the global refugee issue. 36.5 million children displaced. In the midst of the blank canvas, we envisage a society where Dickey and individuals like her have equal access to quality education, where dreams are nurtured, and where hope is ignited. At YTL Foundation, we believe in collaboration, leadership, and empowered communities. These elements are not just concepts to us. They embody the very core of our work and the values that we cherish. The Teachers for Educational Equity initiative is an example of how these elements have come together beautifully. We couldn't have developed this program without the University of Birmingham's expertise and resources, nor could we have launched the program without the funding partnership with Dreams Asia. Our collaboration with Acumen is another great example. We run the Malaysia Acumen Fellowship Program in partnership with Acumen, building up leaders of character to tackle difficult issues of poverty and social justice. But beyond programs and initiatives, it is the human stories that touch our hearts and fuel our mission. We have walked alongside incredible individuals like Dickey, Zara, Sean, and Jane, who have shown unwavering dedication and resilience in the face of adversity. Their stories have reaffirmed our belief that even in the blank spaces, we can find hope, and that for each child challenged by his or her circumstances, teachers can make that difference that will change their future. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Dr. Kathleen, for the inspiring keynote. And we'll now also request Dr. Kathleen to remain on stage for this upcoming panelist session. And thank you, Dr. Kathleen, for sharing this inspiring story as well in the shared journey and the shared humanity and the shared bond between the change maker and the beneficiary community.
And with that, we also would like to bring to you the moderator of the session, Rob Rosen from Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation, and the fellow speakers, Dato Kathleen Chu from YTL Foundation, Jacqueline Novogratz from Acumen, and James Chen from Chen Yat Sen Family Foundation for the session titled Shaping Philanthropy Leaders of the Future.
Good morning. It's wonderful to be with all of you. Congratulations on the success of the conference to date. You've set a high bar for us. which we certainly endeavor to meet as we talk about the themes of leadership in philanthropy and in the nonprofit giving space. So we're going to try and draw out a lot of the different themes that connect back to the topics, the 4 different verticals and the overall cross-cutting theme. So let me first start with a couple brief introductions. So I'm Rob Rosen. I'm the Director of Philanthropic Partnerships at the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation. And the Gates Foundation focuses on pathways to ensure a healthy and productive life. And we do that through our work in health and development and gender. I have the privilege of leading a particularly wonderful team in the foundation that focuses on philanthropic partnerships. And it is our mandate to be a resource to inspire and support givers at all levels to have the greatest possible impact in their philanthropy. I will say that Asia is an area of particular interest to us. We are incredibly optimistic both about what's happening and what's to come in the philanthropy space here. And so we have a small team based both in Delhi and in Beijing that focus specifically on this region and really see incredible opportunities coming forward. So let me first ask our panelists. I'll start with Kathleen, since we just had a wonderful introduction, but just ground us on who you are and what you do, and then I'll ask the other 2 to follow in turn.
Right, thank you, Rob. Good morning again, everyone. So I'm Kathleen Chu. I'm the Program Director at YTL Foundation. And we are basically, at the core, an education foundation. You will have seen some of the work that we do. I've just spoken about it. But we have 2 pillars. We have education and we have leadership. And we see these 2 pillars as intertwined because, leadership is so critical. So we support programs like Pemimpin, which is a school leadership program. We do EdTech in schools, and we encourage the use of technology in schools. But, one of the programs that I love a lot is what we do with Acumen. And it's a fellowship program where we have 20 fellows every year, and we put them through a year of learning, of cohort building and support, and really kind of ground them in values of moral leadership. So that's a snapshot of what we do.
Jacqueline.
Thanks, Kathleen. It is such an honor to partner with you, and you did such a gorgeous job up there. Thank you. I'm Jacqueline Novogratz. I'm the founder and CEO of Acumen. We're here to solve problems of poverty and build a world of dignity. We do it in 3 ways. First, through Acumen Ventures, where we invest a combination of patient capital and impact capital in early-stage entrepreneurs that are solving big problems of poverty across healthcare, energy, agriculture, and education. Our companies have impacted over 500 million people, starting at the bottom, often in partnership through the private sector, often in partnership with government. The second thing we do is Acumen Academy, which Kathleen referenced. Understanding that making change is long and hard, and so finding those entrepreneurs early in their journey, connecting them, linking them, inspiring them through an academy focused on moral leadership and entrepreneurial approaches to change. And then third is Acumen Alliances. When we've moved within a sector and seen real possibilities and blueprints for change, then recognizing we can't solve problems ourselves, partnering with others to actually take on solving the big problems like bringing electricity to all of the people today who don't have it.
Great, thank you. James.
Hi, good morning. My name is James Chen, and it's really an honor to be back with AVPN again. I know Naina from many years, and the original founder, Doug Miller, and I worked together to help establish AVPN. So it's wonderful to see how it's grown and the connections are being made. I'm a third generation steward of my family enterprise, and I grew up. I was born in Hong Kong, but grew up from the age of 3 in Lagos, Nigeria, which Jacqueline thought was really interesting. I guess it is. But so I spent my childhood in Nigeria. Then I went to boarding school in the UK, and finally high school and university in the US. So my family business is still based in Nigeria, And so throughout my working career, I've been involved both with Africa as well as with developing Asia. For my own personal journey, it's been, I helped the family to, while I've never actually worked in Nigeria in the operating business, I helped the family establish a family office in 1994. So certainly in Hong Kong and perhaps Asia, it's probably the first formal family office set up in Asia. And then from then on, I went on to help set up the Family Foundation in the early 2000s, the Chen Yat-sen Family Foundation that is named after my late father. My personal journey in philanthropy for the last 20 years, I've focused on one issue that's been very personal to me, and that is the issue of universal access to vision correction. There's over 1 billion people in the world today who have poor vision, but they don't have access to correcting that vision. And for most of that 1 billion people, the solution is actually a pair of glasses, a technology that's existed for 700 years, but yet 1 billion people who need this technology do not have access to it. And so I spent 20 years trying to figure out why is that? Why is that the case? And this is what I would term my moonshot journey. And having gone through that,
Yeah, and James, we're going to come back and explore that moonshot
Sorry,
a bit. Yeah, no.
I'm running ahead of this.
Yeah, no, that's okay. Just wanted to get the grounding. But the second piece that I really want to ground is because we sometimes skip so quickly into the what and to the how, is just to spend a minute on the theme of this panel of leadership around the why. Why do we do this? And I'll just share a personal story and then I'll get out of the way as moderator. But I was leaving to fly here. I live in Seattle, so I had to leave on Sunday afternoon to come. I've got 3 kids, boy 17, boy who's about to be 13, and an 8-year-old daughter, and sort of went through, hey, I'm going away again this week, sort of checking in with them on things. And the 17-year-old basically was like, that's great. There's one less person to bug me about my college prep as he enters into his senior year and is trying to enjoy his summer a little bit. The soon-to-be 13-year-old was very curious about how I was getting here, what I was going to see, where I was connecting, very intrigued by that. And the 8-year-old, Sloan, said, why? Why are you going? And it wasn't in that, which she sometimes has, but I think she's getting past the, why are you leaving me? But more sort of curious. And I ended up giving her a what answer, which is AVPN is this incredible partner here to really engage and support their event. I'll have an opportunity to connect with so many wonderful partners. I'll learn a lot through the sessions. Oh, and I've got to moderate this panel the last day. That was the what, but I want to go to the why. Why is it that I keep doing this after being at the Gates Foundation for 15 and a half years? And I find that the travel gets a little bit harder every year, although it's incredibly inspiring once I get here. But the why is really 2 things for me. One is the impact, and that's obvious, but that's been something throughout my career of really seeing what previously in government and now in philanthropy, what the difference can be. And we just saw examples in that video, and we see these multiplied by thousands and millions of times of the role that philanthropy can play in actually having a positive impact. But honestly, that alone is not enough, particularly when it gets hard. And so the why for me that really sustains me is on the connections, whether that is members of the team that I work most closely with who inspire me every day by their extraordinary leadership and capabilities, and watching the growth for some that I've worked with over the years. It is partners, many of whom I've connected with in the room here. It is the network of different organizations. I am daily inspired and intrigued and pushed and learn from those partners. So that's my why. That's why I keep going. And I want to just get into it briefly with each of you. Maybe I'll start with Jacqueline to mix it up a little bit, and then we'll go to Kathleen and back to James.
Thanks. My why is really a deep belief in human dignity. I started off on Wall Street, actually, and thought that it was unfair that low-income people had no access to banks, and that I really wanted to find a way to provide banking services to those who'd been excluded. And I would say I started my real focus on poverty. And over time, particularly after living in Rwanda and seeing the country go through a genocide, what I started to really understand is that what matters to us more than poverty is dignity. Are we seen? Can we contribute? Do we have choice in our own lives? Thinking of the story of Dickie, that what I wanted to make my life's purpose about was finding those mechanisms that really enable people to have their own dignity, all of us, and that our systems of philanthropy and frankly of our markets go part of the way, but they needed to be reimagined. And this is a journey that started 37 years ago, and in many ways I feel I'm just starting now to really understand. And I would say my why, the second part of my why today, is not only a belief in that dignity, not just for poor people, but for all of us, if we do dare to reimagine and rebuild. But in many ways, I feel like I now see that big change is possible because of this incredible community I've been privileged to work with. I've seen it happen. And I feel like I'm at the beginning of a next chapter to take the change that's already happened and help other people take it to the next level.
Great. Kathleen, build on that.
I think for me, it starts with my faith. And I was born into a Catholic family, and I went to a Catholic school, a convent school. And I think right throughout both my primary and secondary education, this notion of dignity as well. You know, the school motto was "To truth through charity." And we might have a conversation as to what charity is now versus philanthropy later, but that was what we were very grounded in. We had nuns in the school, and I think all the students, you know, were given the opportunity to explore what it meant to help another person. So I think that deeply affected me, and not just me. I have several classmates. One of them is very well known in Malaysia, Tan Sri Jamila Mahmud, who has done great work with the UN, the International Red Cross. She continues to work on the environment today. And we've all come from that common beginning of values, you know, of the importance of character. And I think that's really formed me and my outlook. And I think the other thing that is the why of what I do is just seeing the impact of my work on one person. You know, I tell my team this all the time. If we are trying to say change a school system, I think that's great. We're trying to change policy. That's, you know, what we should do. But it can be very disappointing work. And it is the power of just seeing maybe that one child. You know, if we see Dickie, and Dickie has a better life now, we have to take that as, and hold on to that as why we're doing what we're doing. But we can't, of course, lose sight of the bigger picture. But for me, it's that power of the one that also drives me on.
Terrific. Thank you. James, let's hear your why.
Okay, I'll try and keep as short as possible, Rob. And that's a great question. Why? So for me, it's why is it that I have access to vision correction, and in my life journey in Africa, in developing Asia, so few people wore glasses, right? And at the beginning, it was like, is it because they don't need glasses or they don't have access? Of course, you know, now I know that it's over 1 billion people need glasses, but they don't have access to it. And then trying to, you know, and so again, why? Why don't they have? And, you know, this technology has been around 700 years, right? Why don't they? And so, you know, this 20-year journey, I've had to go through and figure that one out, why that's the case. And to cut a long story short, we were in Rwanda, and we actually solved it, that yes, you can bring vision correction to the bottom of a pyramid, in one of the poorest countries in the world. And today, you know, Rwanda is the only country in history of a poor country that has universal access to vision correction.
Yeah, I mean, so in the why there, I'm hearing a little bit from you of also, you're trying to solve a hard problem, is that right? Does that keep you going?
Yeah, yes, it is. And most important is, it's because, you know, at the time, the experts would say, just because it can't be done, right? And so, and that just didn't sit well with me. Why is it that I can get it, and I know that, glasses don't cost that much, really, right? And you can buy your, reading glasses for a couple of dollars in the store. Why isn't that available? So there's lots of, that's why it takes a long time to figure that out. And it's really pushing back against the establishment. When I first started, I was actually tried to be a member of the I coordinating body called IAPB, and we were rejected as a member because we know this cannot be done. Why is this guy doing this? Okay, and so we don't want him as a member because he will embarrass us. He'll waste our time and money. And 20 years later, today I'm the global ambassador and global campaign chair of the IAPB.
James, I want to build on that. Yeah, sorry, go ahead. Please.
Thank you.
I want to build on that with you a little bit. When you talk, let's pivot a bit to talk about leadership and leadership in philanthropy or in the ecosystem more broadly. You have a particular vision, pun intended, on this in terms of the role of taking bold choices and risks. Just spend a minute on that for us.
Yeah, so reflecting on my 20-year journey in vision, what I realized is that actually the donor community, right, for people who are in particularly who have high net worth, right, we have the resource. We've benefited from society, and we have the resources to be able to do something. And for the most part, there are many people who are very generous. They want to give their money, but they don't want to spend the time and the effort it requires to understand how do you solve these very, very difficult social problems, right? And so, now my journey, which I'm provisionally terming moonshot philanthropy, or perhaps a better term might be entrepreneurial donors, right? How do you get donors to really be able to have the domain expertise to be able to figure out how to solve issues by investing and taking lots of risk, right? We spend, I look for things to invest which are high risk of failure, okay? Because I don't mind failing, because in failure we learn, and then we can change our model, our whole theory of change, and then try again, right? And ultimately, if your money lasts long enough and you don't get too old, you might actually makes progress. So I'm always trying to push the edge of knowledge in that particular issue.
No, that's great. I want to build a little bit on that with both Kathleen and Jacqueline on your story, thinking about leadership and partnership and trust. And I'd love the two of you to bring that to life through the Acumen Fellows Malaysia program and really draw out the lessons of the challenges in terms of and opportunities for the leadership that you collectively have provided.
Maybe I'll start. So I think that trust that has and leadership that you're talking about. So Jacqueline and I met maybe a few years, at a conference, a few years before we actually started the formal relationship. And so we were able to build a relationship. We were able to be friends, to build that trust. And then in 2019, we agreed that we would launch the Malaysia Acumen Fellowship in Malaysia. And it was very exciting. We had discussed how the teams from the headquarters in New York would support us, how the whole program flow would run, because it was our first year and we were new to this. And then COVID struck, right? And it really needed a huge amount of trust, a huge amount of leadership to see how a program that was going to take 20 young people on a very deep journey of discovery of their why, of the discovery of their potential, and kind of finding, that leadership in themselves, to have that resilience to carry on with what they were doing. These were social entrepreneurs. So it was a difficult time. Acumen had to pivot. They had to find out ways of going ahead with the program. And we were, frankly, a bit at a loss. Do we carry on with the program with COVID, which was something that was proven to have worked in a face-to-face situation, very, very much a relationship-building cohort. And yet Acumen said, no, I think we can do it online. We can provide support remotely. You know, it's only 15 or 12 hours time difference. San Francisco, 16 hours time difference from Kuala Lumpur, but we'll do it. And I think it took my program lead, myself, you know, really kind of working on that. Okay, we trust that they know what they're doing, even though they haven't done this before. And I think that stemmed from kind of knowing Jacqueline and what she has done before, and just trusting that she would do the right thing, that whatever we were going to do, if there were mistakes, we would make it together. I think that's a little bit of, maybe Jacqueline, you can take it from there. Yes.
Thank you for that. And it's so generous too, Kathleen. That word trust, and also what James talked about with entrepreneurial philanthropists, that I think we're at a moment in history where we play different roles, and we have to play different roles when they're based on trust. And in a way, one of the gifts for Kathleen and I getting to know each other is we had no idea who one another was when we first met in a car, and were sort of stuck together for 3 hours and got to know each other simply as human beings and discover those core values, discovered some of the similar identities like a Catholic upbringing and the values that we each had as human beings. I'm the eldest of 7, and Kathleen, shockingly, has 7. And what does that mean in terms of how you navigate a world and the belief in the collective? And so when it was clear that Acumen Academy was beginning to expand across the world, and Southeast Asia in this moment of history is so critical to a global conversation to reimagine and build, there was nobody that I trusted more to ask the question of, could we take this model into Southeast Asia, not imposed upon, but grounded in Southeast Asian values, in the Southeast Asian understanding? We didn't know the region. Kathleen knew the region, so she had to step into the role of entrepreneurial philanthropist. As you saw from Kathleen's presentation, this is what she does. Having incubated Teach for India, having brought in University of Birmingham, this is not passive philanthropy. This is taking a program and building it from her connections, which is a lot of risk about reputation. She was the one that put really everything on the line, truly. And we made mistakes at the beginning because of COVID, because I guess we're both really ambitious. Before we had really even understood, could we do Teach for Acumen Academy in Malaysia, Kathleen dared to introduce us to the community of Asian Philanthropy Circle. And through that, I met Lam Nguyen Phang from Singapore, who was really interested in helping to launch the region with the dream of building Acumen Academy in Vietnam. And that was another extension of trust based on relationship. And when there were bumps, there were a lot of calls. I learned so much, and this is one of the great privileges of my life, now to be able to immerse and meet the fellows for the first time after 3 years of actually operating in this region through a global pandemic. And you get to see what's possible if you can extend that trust and have real conversations. And frankly, I think this is a lot about love when it really comes down to the work that we're trying to do, and the kind of love that's based in a relationship. Kathleen used the word truth, where you dare to tell each other your truths in service of something that's so much bigger than you are.
Yeah, I wonder, just to keep going on this theme a little bit, because we talk about trust, and I know in an Asian context I've heard this a couple times, which is like, yeah, that's just what we do. This Western idea of, oh, this is a new evolution is, kind of odd to hear, but it's easy to talk about, it's harder to actually do. And I just wonder, you've touched on a couple points, but anything to draw out, like it's good and important to actually tell the stories of success, because you need to shine a light on what might inspire others. But when it gets hard, what do you have to brace yourself for? And then James, I'll bring you in this in terms of anything to share with the group of what helps you overcome those bumps.
I think that's a really challenging question. I think everyone has their own. You have to have your own answer. Why is it that you pursue, particularly on, when we're dealing with these very difficult social or environmental issues, right? They've been around for so long. They're very, very complex, and trying to, unpick them and find a way through towards the solution, right? It's a great struggle, but particularly from a donor side, I would say, you get to points, where you really question yourself, and certainly, how, and also, you have to, report to your family, right? You're responsible to your family, and so, how is it that you can push through, right? And it is a challenge, and that's why I think it's so important from the donor side. Not, what we're all trying to do is really to, figure out how to do, systems change, right? You really disruptive system change, and to do that, you need both the doers, right, entrepreneurial doers that the Acumen Academy is training, but I think you also need entrepreneurial donors, and that we have to recognize, there's a lot of things that, these donors can learn from your program, but on top of that, there's a lot of soft issues like family relationships, and particularly in the Asian context, we come from a mindset which is, that, on the whole, correct me if I'm wrong, but that, we have, under the Confucian system, right, we have roles, and as wealthy families, our role is to do charity, right? We write checks, but it's government, civil servants, mandarins who solve the problems of society, right? And what we're seeing here in this generation is that, no, it's actually we, the doers and the donors have to figure it out ourselves, right? We have to be able to have the domain expertise as donors, and then to be able to support the doers to actually make that progress. And so that is where, the challenge I think we have in particularly in Asia, and perhaps this is even global.
Yeah, I want to build on that. I see 2 clocks. I'm going to go with the one that gives us a couple extra minutes here. Maybe I'll add them together to draw this out. But Jacqueline, you were talking about this, and Kathleen, I want to bring you in terms of this, both a perspective on Asia, and then also this moment that we recognize that we're in terms of sort of life stage. I won't name ages, but of thinking about from a leadership perspective, that empowerment, that enabling, that mentorship, but also sort of how and we show up in this transformation. And so maybe Jacqueline to start, and then Kathleen, and then we'll circle back.
Yeah, I really appreciate what James said, and also the power of grounding within at the local level and the regional level, and importantly connecting to the global. I'm starting to really understand, again at my ripe old age, actually what we're building in a very different ways. To James's point, in the private sector, there are these individuals that have taken enormous risk in this region. Stanley Tan, who's another partner to Acumen Academy in Southeast Asia, is an incredible entrepreneur. And yet in the social enterprise sector in Southeast Asia, I think sometimes because of the very dynamic that you're talking about, James, social entrepreneurs who have incredible visions, who are so good with the character to really make change, will tell me that they hold themselves back. They don't have the donor partner who's saying, go, dream, how do I support you? What connections can I make? And in part, it's sometimes because the government program is there to say, well, here's some grant money for you. And so it's really important that we have role models from across the region. And I love, Naina, that you and your team brought Sarakuram, an Acumen Academy fellow from Pakistan, who's reaching over 2.5 million people through her telemedicine company, just born out of a lot of agony and hard things to change healthcare. Or Haktar Shak, who's also here from India, that has already moved $1 billion of government services to some of the poorest and lowest caste people across India. So that when a Clara Wam from Malaysia can build a company where she's taking surplus food to retail levels, and a restaurateur can start to see, oh, they've taken it to millions, I can take it to millions, not only in Malaysia but across the region. To me, this is the moral revolution where you start to build a very diverse community, locally and globally, of young entrepreneurial builders that are building a new skill set based in character, the daring of that vision, and knowing that they've got backers that are with them. We can solve these problems together, and that gives me a hope that I cannot even articulate.
I think all I want to add is to say that, I mean, Jacqueline has put it so well, that, you know, we have to be local. And I think in Asia, we have to be brave about that. We have to be brave about the fact that we have a lot to offer the world. We brought in the Acumen Fellowship here because, you know, they've done that groundwork. You know, they have done the curriculum, and they've proven that it works. But it doesn't work like 100% just because we import it. I think, you know, Jacqueline will say, you know, there's a lot to learn from us, and we have to be bold about what, you know, works in Asia. It's not just a question of bringing in ideas and systems and things from the West. What are our values? I think that's what we're here to develop and find out as well. What makes us so uniquely Asian? One of the things, I mean, James talks about families, and I think Ruth, what's her name?
Shapiro?
Shapiro, yes. Ruth Shapiro, I thought, yeah. Right there. Oh, hi, Ruth. Yeah, you just nailed it when you said, in Asia, philanthropy comes a lot from families. It's rooted in families, and families own companies, and the companies are the ones who are at the forefront. But really, at the end of the day, it's families. And families are based on trust. And whilst, you know, we have to navigate that carefully, I think that is also something that we have to take account of, that it is this trust building that is so important. It's not cut and dried. I'm a lawyer, but it's not a contract. It's a relationship. And as we develop the philanthropy and this whole kind of new sector in Asia, you know, let's take that trust that we have built on for a long time, and, you know, just work with our wonderful partners, learn from each other, and build our brand of philanthropy here.
Awesome. Well, I thank you all so much. There's so many points to capture in terms of the role of leadership, trust, partnership, vision, and boldness, and values-based philanthropy. But I just close as we get onto the next segment with remembering that all of us are leaders. And to drive the change that we want to see, I'd ask all of us to challenge ourselves to think about how we bring our values and how they show up day to day in our leadership, both when it's working well and when it's challenging. And I think that when collectively we do that, the impact will be extraordinary. So thank you all so much for joining us this morning.
All right, thank you very much, Rob and Dr. Kathleen, Jacqueline, and James for the panel session. And we will now take a brief photo moment on the stage with the panelists. And for the delegates, we would like to invite you to remain at your seat as we are expecting our very distinguished guests to arrive very, very soon.
And they are already in the building as we speak. So please remain seated.
And we are about to close the door very soon as we're expecting the arrival of the VIPs.
Such an exciting moment to have leaders of the nation to join us at this
Yes.
auspicious third and final day of the conference, David. I couldn't be more excited.
And we have a series of events that's taking place with the VIPs, including the closing address as well as the launch of the Youth Mental Wellbeing Fund. Alright, we are just doing a final arrangement of the distinguished guest seats.
Ladies and gentlemen, please rise, announcing the arrival of the Honorable Minister of Women, Family and Community Development, Yang Berhormat Datuk Sri Nancy Shukri, Minister of Youth and Sports, Yang Berhormat Hannah Yeoh,
Accompanied by the board of Yayasan Hasanah and the board of AVPN. Yang Berhormat Datuk Sri Haja Nancy binti Haji Sukri, Minister of Women, Family and Community Development, Yang Berhormat Puan Hannah Yeoh, Minister of Youth and Sports,
Yang Berbahagia Tan Sri Magno Yusof, Chairman of Yayasan Hasanah, Yang Berbahagia Datuk Amirul Faisal, Managing Director of Khazanah Nasional Berhad, Yang Berbahagia Datuk Syahira Ahmed Bazari, Managing Director of Yayasan Hasanah,
and Madam Naina Subewal Batra, CEO of AVPN, members of Yayasan Hasanah Board of Trustees and the AVPN Board of Directors, distinguished speakers, members of the medias, ladies and gentlemen.
Assalamualaikum, welcome and a very good morning to the Honorable Ministers. Allow us to introduce ourselves. I'm Hanis Hisham from Yayasan Hasanah, a foundation of Khazanah Nasional Berhad.
And I'm David Lim from the Asian Venture Philanthropy Network, AVPN, Malaysian team, and we will be your MC for today's proceedings.
That's right, David, and it's truly our honor and privilege to be graced by the ministers of the Government of Malaysia today at the AVPN Global Conference 2023.
The AVPN Global Conference is a convening of social investors and impact leaders who are playing the key roles in mobilizing capital towards impact. This year, it is co-hosted with Yayasan Hasanah, marking the first time that AVPN Global Conference is brought to Malaysia.
A round of applause, ladies and gentlemen. What an exciting time for the social impact scene. And in the spirit of this collaboration, part of the AVPN Global Conference is the Hasanah Forum, which explores the intersection of philanthropy and justice. Today, on the third and final day of the conference, we're immensely thrilled and honored to be joined by leaders of the nation. Thank you once again for gracing us with your presence. Ladies and gentlemen, now to kickstart today's program, please join me to welcome Tan Sri Matno Yusof, Chairman of Yayasan Hasanah, to deliver a special message.
Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Honorable Ministers, Datuk Sri Nancy Haji Sukri, Puan Hana Yo, ABP Chairperson Veronica Colundum, Chief Executive Officer of ABPN, Naina, fellow members of Yayasan Hasanah Trustees, distinguished guests, and members of AVPN. Assalam and a very good morning. First, I must say, such a big audience, it got me a bit nervous, but I'll try. Well, first, let me extend our warmest welcome to all our new friends visiting Malaysia for the first time. You will find this is a beautiful country. I'm impartial, of course. In fact, I would say that the beaches in the East Coast Peninsula and Sabah, the beaches there are so fabulous at this time of the year. And also at this time, just off the coast of Rompin, you will find a migration of sailfish coming here to feed on the anchovies. So it is such an amazing sight to see. They come in hundreds to feed. And this time you will find lots of foreign visitors, those sailfish enthusiasts. There'll be a big crowd there. You will enjoy it if you go, I'm certain. So YB Nancy, that's my bid for tourism. As you know, for your information, YB Nancy was our tourism minister at one time, but she has a new portfolio now. Now back to this hall, sorry. So, well, on behalf of Yayasan Hasanah, I would like to take this honor to express our deepest appreciation to AVPN, to Naina especially, for the opportunity to co-host the prestigious AVPN Global Conference this year. As side by side for our biannual Yayasan Forum, lending us the unique exposure to a wide number of esteemed philanthropists, social activists, and social enterprises. Most valuable exposure for us. And most importantly, we are introduced to new dimensions to Yayasan's own course. In fact, over the past 2 days, we have seen so much interchange of ideas and sharing of unique experiences, which only events like this could provide. I was really fortunate. The ABPM, as I come to understand, was established principally to serve as catalysts for collaboration and collective action of diverse philanthropies, especially in the impact spaces. So this is a new thing, I think, that we want to familiar with. In fact, for me, this phrase, I learned a phrase last 2 days, this phrase called mobilizing capital for impact investing. In fact, I will share with you that for most of my working career, I was a banker. And you know, banks, we mobilize capital, but to intermediate for profit. So I would say that I did feel a bit of pang for a while, but I must say I have redeemed somewhat since joining Khazanah Yayasan with all the good things we're doing. Hopefully so lah, redemption. So as explained by earlier by Dato' Faisal and Shahira, Yayasan Hasanah evolved from straight CSR, donation giving and grant making, and we have grown to, we would like to believe, to become an institution for good, functioning on our own and in collaboration with public institutions and other similar like foundations. I'm glad to say that YH is sustainable. We are considerably endowed, and we have the capacity to assemble talent, inshallah. And clearly we have embedded clear vision and mission. So, ladies and gentlemen, as conclusion to my brief remarks, let me again thank ABPN and her fellow trustee, Veronica Colundum and friends, for bringing ABPN to Kuala Lumpur. Thank you. And I would end here with a quote from Diana in her opening speech. She said, "All of us share a common goal: to create a future where prosperity and well-being are not privileges for the few, but accessible to all." Thank you.
Thank you, Tan Sri, for that wonderful open. We are honored to have you open our amazing event today. And now, ladies and gentlemen, a special video presentation on the aspiration and spirit of Malaysia Madani.
Apa yang penting yang dihadapi oleh rakyat, masalah pendidikan, kesihatan, prasarana mesti ditangani dengan baik. Ini kerajaan perpaduan yang serius dan kita bertekad untuk menyelesaikan masalah ini dalam keadaan yang segera. ada kegelisahan yang berasas, tanggungjawab kita untuk selesaikan sama. Negara ini, saudara, mesti diselamatkan. Mesti diangkat semula martabatnya. Kita mahu Malaysia harum semula sebagai negara adil dan adil kepada rakyatnya. Rakyatnya dari semua kaum dan semua agama dan semua pelosok kampung dan pedalaman.
Angkat martabat ekonomi, bela nasib rakyat. Kalau pimpinannya bertanggungjawab, negara ini mampu bawa perubahan.
Salah satu negara yang harus dikenali dan dihormati sebagai negara makmur, negara adil, negara yang menolak sebarang bentuk kezaliman terhadap individu atau kaum. Kita mahu negara ini dikenali dengan semangat baru, semangat rakyat yang faham erti kebebasan dan kemerdekaan. Maka berilah kesempatan untuk anak-anak kita, untuk generasi penerus, supaya harapan ini boleh dibina dengan kekuatan yang dimulai sekarang.
Such a powerful, moving video. Ladies and gentlemen, now delivering the closing address on behalf of the Prime Minister of Malaysia, please welcome the Minister of Women, Family and Community Development, Yang Berhormat, Datuk Sri Nancy Shukri.
Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi ta'ala wabarakatuh. And a very, very good morning. Yang Berhormat Puan Hanayo, Minister of Youth and Sports. Yang Berbahagia Tan Sri Muhammad Yusof, Chairman of the Yayasan Hasanah. Yang Berbahagia Datuk Amirul Faisal, Managing Director of Hazanah National. Yang Berbahagia Datuk Syahira Ahmad Bazari, Managing Director of Yayasan Hasanah. Madam Naina Subarwal Batra, CEO of AVPN, members of Yayasan Hasanah Board of Trustees and the AVPN Board of Directors, distinguished speakers, members of the media, ladies and gentlemen. First of all, the Honorable Prime Minister conveys his sincere regards to all and regrets not being able to attend this forum. Please allow me to read on his behalf the keynote address he has prepared earlier. But before that, on a personal note, I'd like to congratulate Yayasan Hasanah for being able to gather so many people here this morning. I hope I'm not nervous, like what Tan Sri said. Well, Salam Malaysia Madani, and thank you for inviting me to deliver this keynote address. I hope this forum will provide the opportunity to share and celebrate experiences as well as cultivate future collaborations, new ideas, and innovate solutions towards an equitable and sustainable future for all. While the fundamental requirements of democracy are associated with freedom and the rule of law, no less important is the need for equality, not just in terms of equal treatment before the law, but extending to equitable distribution of wealth. For democracies to flourish, it is imperative to have social and economic justice so as to bring about a fair and equitable society, one where there is fairness and opportunity for all, regardless of background, going hand in hand with fair distribution of wealth and resources. Hence, I was quite heartened to note that the Hasanah Forum places rights and justice-based giving not only as part of their larger narrative and advocacy, but through real-life action in how they give and how they monitor and drive accountability. Building a more just and equitable world requires collective efforts from individuals, communities, government, and organizations. It requires implementing policies and initiatives that challenge systemic barriers and biases that perpetuate injustice. Further, there must be political will, in as much as politics and governance play a significant role in shaping policies, laws, and institutions that can either perpetuate or address social injustices. This is why this administration is committed to practicing good governance, transparency, integrity, and accountability, which is in full consonance with Malaysia Madani. As a guiding philosophy of nationhood, Malaysia Madani will take us on a continuous journey to achieve a just, equitable, and humane society in pursuing the nation's development holistically and putting the needs of the rakyat first. It is important that philanthropy moves beyond charity and becomes a key mechanism that supports social justice by addressing the root causes. The embodiment of the Malaysia Madani concept seeks to promote a sense of responsibility among citizens towards the nation's development and encourages active participation and engagement in civic societies. This in turn fosters value-based growth and people-centered mechanisms so that no one is left behind in building national and regional resilience as well as sustainable policies. An economy that truly serves humanity is one that embraces social justice, protects the environment, and nurtures the well-being of the people. It is an economy that values people over profits and seeks to create a world where dignity, fairness, and sustainability are the guiding principles. Malaysia Madani encompasses the idea of a just and inclusive society where all citizens are treated fairly and have equal opportunities regardless of their ethnic, religious, or social background. While the 6 key pillars of Malaysia Madani also encapsulate the Sustainable Development Goals, of which some progress has been achieved, the COVID-19 pandemic has unfortunately regressed some of the advances made. The pandemic has disrupted global efforts for poverty eradication, highlighting the inequalities of health accessibility among countries and regions. Nonetheless, it also provided us an opportunity to build back our resilience by putting forth a humanity-based development. In this regard, ensuring the people's well-being is of paramount importance through a new set of philanthropic and impact economy lenses. With this in mind, it is envisioned that this forum, aptly themed as Fostering Justice-Based Philanthropy, Shifting the Narrative to Action, will serve as a platform to realize the spirit of Madani, not only for Malaysia, but for a stronger regional partnership that will enrich mutual investments and cooperation. The challenges of the 21st century are marked by significant changes that have rendered some of the traditional structures and systems less adaptable and ineffective. Consequently, we need governance structures that are adaptable and flexible that would ensure fairness and justice. The global economic landscape has shifted, not only on account of the COVID-19 pandemic, but also with the rise of digital economies, the fourth industrial revolution, artificial intelligence, and knowledge-based industries. In addition to these are the geopolitical convulsions caused by the emerging conflicts and tensions across the globe, while globalization has also made us all the more interlinked and interdependent. Distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, we cannot deny that there is growing demand for greater transparency, accountability, and accessibility for participatory governance, where citizens are increasingly seeking inclusive government structures that allow for meaningful engagement to address issues such as corruption, political reform, and human rights. We are also facing the urgent need to address climate change and other environmental issues that require innovative and transformative approaches. Traditional structures and policies often struggle to keep pace with the speed and scale of action required to mitigate climate change, protect biodiversity, and transition to sustainable development. And while tackling global issues, I remain cognizant of being invested in our next generation. It is in that spirit that the government remains most concerned about the globally declining mental health conditions of our youth, and Malaysia, regretfully, is no different. Addressing mental well-being is ever more pressing, with latest statistics suggesting our youth has indicated higher levels of stress, anxiety, and depression. Based on the National Health and Morbidity Survey, or NHMS 2022, suicidal thoughts among adolescents have been growing for the past decade. In 2017, it was 10%, and this has risen to 13% in 2022. Depression has also been increasing, with latest numbers indicating 1 in 4 adolescents are depressed. I imagine the numbers must be rising as well in other countries. It is especially crucial for our youth to have access to the right resources and to safe avenues for treatment, as it is our young women and young men who are the future of Malaysia and of all the countries represented here today. As such, allow me to take this opportunity to offer my heartiest congratulations to Yayasan Hasanah and to the Asian Venture Philanthropy Network for taking the important stride of tackling mental well-being amongst our youth in Asia today. Shortly, YB Hana Yo will be announcing the establishment of the Asian Youth Mental Wellbeing Philanthropic Pooled Fund. The purpose of this fund is to increase the accessibility of mental health services across Malaysia and across the region by encouraging and mobilizing more capital alongside facilitating conversations among donors. Ladies and gentlemen, we are stronger when we move together. The same can be said for a nation to continue developing, which requires the concerted effort of all stakeholders in creating sustainable and meaningful impact. I would like to take this opportunity to congratulate Yayasan Hasanah for becoming Malaysia's leading independent grant-making foundation and have been pivotal in bridging the gap between civil societies, local communities, and corporations, a true model of success of public-private philanthropic partnerships. I think they deserve a big round of applause for that. Thank you. Well, for 2023, I'm pleased to announce another matching grant partnership with Yayasan Hasanah of Ringgit Malaysia 50 million for the implementation of Hasanah Special Grant 4. There's a big responsibility for me to read this keynote address. 50 million ringgit. Well, this partnership has enabled the largest funding to civil society and social enterprises from the government, and I am appreciative for the support and leadership of Yayasan Hasanah and Khazanah National. Hasanah Special Grants also enabled significant growth in income generation amongst vulnerable communities. We have seen the emergence of success stories of local grassroots startups, and social and impact businesses, through collaborative efforts contributing to increasing Malaysia's economic competitiveness and building national resilience while delivering socio-economic benefits and impacts for the people. Khazanah National has launched the Future Malaysia program, an initiative under its Dana Impact Mandate, which supports the local startup ecosystem of entrepreneurs, startups, venture capital, and corporate venture programs through domestic and international collaborations. Dana Impact is a 6 billion ringgit commitment over 5 years and is a key pillar under Khazanah's Advancing Malaysia strategy, seeking to invest across 6 themes based on issues and challenges facing the nation. Ladies and gentlemen, I hope the new information shared and learned these past few days will accelerate the process of transforming ideas into actions in creating a just, equitable, and inclusive society for our nation and the region. Thank you. That's all from the Prime Minister. Thank you very much.
Wow, and that was the closing address delivered by Yang Berhormat Dato Sri Nancy Shukri on behalf of the Prime Minister of Malaysia, Yang Amat Berhormat Dato Sri Anwar bin Ibrahim.
And now to join Dato Sri for a special photo moment, we invite onto the stage the Honourable Minister, Yang Berhormat Minister Hana Yeoh, to be joined by Chairman of Yayasan Hasanah Tan Sri Matno Yusof, Managing Director of Khazanah Nasional Berhad Dato Amirul Faisal Wan Zahid, Managing Director of Yayasan Hasanah Dato Syahira Ahmad Bazari.
And we have Chair of AVPN, Veronica Kolondam, Board Director of AVPN, Haviko, CEO of AVPN, Nena Subawal Batra.
And Trustee of Yayasan Hasanah Yang Mulia Tunku Ali Zakri alias.
Thank you to Yang Berhormat Nancy Shukri and distinguished guests. We invite you all to return to your seats as we proceed to the next agenda of the day.
Terima kasih diucapkan. Now, David, it's really apt. As the Prime Minister's speech earlier mentioned an inclusive and sustainable future for the nation and the region. And to achieve this very vision, it's critical to have a society with young people who are equipped to succeed.
And that leads to our latest work at AVPN and its network organizations, including Chevron and Yayasan Hasanah. We're coming together in designing a philanthropic pool fund that will tackle this epidemic in a sustained and scalable manner. And it is the Asian Youth Mental Wellbeing Fund, which is focused on funding innovative and proven interventions that address multidimensional mental well-being among young people. And in this spirit, it is my pleasure to welcome on stage Yang Berhormat Hana Yeoh, the Minister of Youth and Sports of Malaysia, who will be delivering her keynote address and subsequently join us in launching the Asian Youth Mental Wellbeing Fund. And a round of applause for YB Hana.
Good morning. Yang Berhormat Datuk Sri Haja Nancy binti Haji Shukri, Minister of Women, Family and Community Development. Yang Berbahagia Tan Sri Muhammad Noor Yusof, Chairman of Yayasan Hasanah. Yang Berbahagia Datuk Amirul Faisal, Managing Director of Khazanah Nasional. Yang Berbahagia Datuk Syahira Ahmad Bazri, Managing Director of Yayasan Hasanah. Madam Naina Subawal Batra, CEO of AVPN. Members of Yayasan Hasanah Board of Trustees and the AVPN Board of Directors, distinguished speakers, members of the media, ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for inviting me to come and launch this very important fund. I only have 3 points to address this morning. First of all, we all know that youth is our asset. They are recognized not just for their energy level, but also their fresh perspectives and ideas. Physical health empowers us to go about doing our work daily, but mental health facilitates the execution of those work. Young people and their mind, their fresh idea, help them access their future. But if their mind is not healthy, we will be restricted. We will not be able to tap into fresh perspectives, new ways of doing things. And that's why the mental health of our youth must be protected, must be safeguarded, must be taken care of. Secondly, why a pool of funds? I'm a strong believer of not reinventing the wheel. The power of this is you put your money for others. You put in the money for those who know the know-how to multiply that money for you. They will be able to put it to good use. I always believe in working with good, reliable NGOs because they have the passion. What they lack is the money. And when you give money to them, they'll be able to do wonders because of their passion. They are in NGOs because they want to champion a cause. And so matching this passion with your money is a very powerful act. And therefore today, when you put a room full of people with access to resources and money, and when you match it with these young people seated over here with good ideas, new way of doing things, you are going to create magic. Today, you have an access to a few countries when you invest into this pool of fund. You will be able to influence beyond your natural boundaries. Prosper thy neighbor. You know, in our work as ministers, daily we are presented with problems. And daily we are told we don't have enough money to solve all the problems. And therefore, we walk around carrying burdens, and we are not smart enough to lay those burdens down, you won't be able to sleep at night. In the Ministry of Women, Family and Community Development, that burden is far greater than the burden I carry in the Ministry of Youth and Sports. I get stressed when we can't win gold medals. But YB&C is stressed every time a child is abused and is in need of greater protection. And so we carry different burdens. But as I sat there and I looked at the screen with so many inspiring logos, I get so motivated because this is a room of problem solvers. This is a room that has all the answers to the problems we have outside. And so today you'll be presented with that opportunity to invest, to put your money where it's worthy, it is important for you to champion. This money that you're going to invest in will be able to help not just the young people today, but possibly your grandchildren and your grandchildren's children. When we talk about mental health, I can tell you the need is so great out there that every time I talk about it, I get a little bit frightened. Why? Because I know how difficult it is to actually provide sustainable care for this group of people who are in need of help. Not just them, not just the patients, but even the caregivers. The caregivers need a lot of support. And therefore, this area needs a lot of money. So it is my hope that you will be able to put in this money to help access the future ideas of these young people. Help our young people feel confident about themselves again. Help them be able to believe in themselves again and be able to go out and execute their dreams. And with this, I leave you with these words. I hope that today you will be able, those of you with money, but you have no energy and no time to go out and reach the others, you will be able to part with your money and send in the young people with the ideas to go out and execute it for you. Put your money into their hands, and I guarantee you, you will see magic. And so with that, I officially launched the Youth Mental Wellbeing Fund in Asia, and I wish you success. Thank you.
And now, for the official launch of the Asian Youth Mental Wellbeing Fund, we invite YB to remain on stage for the launching event. To join YB Minister Hana Yeoh on stage, we invite
the Minister of Women, Family and Community Development, Yang Berhormat Dato Sri Nancy Shukri, CEO of AVPN, Nena Subawa Batra, Dato Shahira Ahmed Bazari from Yayasan Hasana as co-host of this year's AVPN Global Conference, Chief of Capital Mobilization of AVPN Mutushi Sengupta, and our anchoring funder Chevron Asia Pacific Exploration and Production represented by Tishawan Yanundum,
and accompanied by Dr. Nirja Birla from Aditya Birla Education Trust, Dr. Nur Anwar Abdul Muttalib from Yayasan Hasana, and Mr. Nicholas from Binjai 3 Foundation.
And now, we will do a quick 5-second countdown for the launch of the Asian Youth Mental Wellbeing Fund, launched by the YB Hana Yeoh. And I would encourage everyone to count together in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
And with that, the Asian Youth Mental Wellbeing Fund is now launched. And now capturing this special historic moment, our members of the media. Mental health, especially amongst youth, is an invisible epidemic. More than 100 million young people in Malaysia, Singapore, India, and many parts of Asia are facing mental health challenges.
At addressing these rising challenges, AVPN, Chevron, Yayasan Hasana, and its partner organizations are coming together to design this pool fund. The fund itself will focus on South Asia and Southeast Asian impact organizations that address mental well-being conditions among young people.
The fund will be managed by AVPN for the Asia region, and about $1 million is targeted to be fundraised and carved out for Malaysia.
We would like to extend our deepest gratitude to Yang Berhormat Hana Yeoh, Minister of Youth and Sports, for being with us today. We are very grateful for your commitment and support for our work on youth mental well-being.
And certainly we hope for more urgent actions and collaborative efforts from public and private funders in the room and civil society towards the youth causes. Thank you once again.
And now, we would like to invite the CEO of AVPN, Nena, to proceed to the rostrum to share with us a few words of thanks.
Good morning and thank you very much. On behalf of AVPN, I would like to express our heartfelt gratitude to the Honorable YB Dato Sri Haja Nancy Binti Haji Shukri, Minister of Women, Family and Community Development, YB Puan Hana Yeoh, Minister of Youth and Sports, for gracing us with your presence and your unwavering support. Your presence here today has brought an exceptional sense of enthusiasm and inspiration to all of us. We are immensely grateful for your relentless efforts in promoting the well-being and empowerment of young people. I also take this opportunity to thank all the speakers and delegates. It has been 3 incredible conference days, and we could not have done this without the support of our partner, Yayasan Hasana. The speakers, the delegates, and each and every one of you who is here with us. This year's conference was the largest to date and absolutely amazing. We had 1,329 delegates who joined us over these 3 days. 254 speakers have actually shared their thoughts, their experiences, and their learnings with us. There were 103 sessions that have taken place and are yet to take place. The average attendees per breakout session were 127 delegates, and in every plenary session we had more than 800 delegates who sat and listened. 44 countries are represented here, and the number of connections that have been made over these 3 days have been infinite. YB Hanayo told us that we can make magic, and I challenge you today to go out and make magic. Because the energy that you have sitting here today, talking to each other, learning from each other, sharing from each other, is the energy that we need to carry forward. Our conference every year puts a spotlight on unique Asian leaders and solutionists who are creating transformational change, not just in their own country, but across our region in Asia and the Pacific. If we truly wish to change the status quo, we need to bring our people and homegrown ideas, talents, and influence to the rest of the world. But our conference is just a small part of what we do at AVPN. A lot of things happen throughout the year, from more events to programs, and you can explore more by engaging with the AVPN team that is present. The conference is not over. We have half a day more to go, and I really hope you take inspiration from the speeches made by our honorable ministers here today and make the most of the half day that is remaining. I look forward to seeing you next year at the next AVPN Global Conference, but before that, let us go out, let us make magic and tackle global challenges with our unique Asian solutions. Thank you so much.
And thank you very much, Nena. This shall conclude our morning plenary today. And ladies and gentlemen, we would like to announce the departure of the Minister of Youth and Sports of Malaysia, Yang Berhormat Hanayo,
and the Minister of Women, Family and Community Development, Yang Berhormat Datuk Sri Nancy Shukri.
And at this plenary hall, we're diving into more plenary sessions and breakout sessions, following a break later.
Once again, we'd like to thank the honorable ministers for gracing us with their presence. Thank you so much for being part of this momentous, historic day here at the AVPN Global Conference 2023. And later, David, I understand at 11:30 will be returning here at the plenary hall to talk about a very important topic that is so relevant to what we have witnessed earlier today, which is?
On the plenary session, they'll be discussing about youth mental well-being in Asia. So right now, dear delegates, ladies and gentlemen, we will take a short break before we proceed to the 11:30 sessions that is shown on the screen. We will now proceed to have a short break, networking, exchanging energy and the magic, and build for more transformational collaboration in Asia.
Keep the energy going and keep the magic happening.
Exactly. And we will see you at 11:30 back at here on the plenary session on Asian youth mental well-being. Thank you.
Thank you and see you soon.